As always, this episode of the 1878 FM podcast is sponsored by Greene King Sport, where football is more than a game. Make Greene King your go-to destination for the season's final stretch. Why? For one, you can watch every televised Toffee's game down with delicious food and refreshing beverages. And with 900 sports clubs dotted around the UK, chances are you're within walking distance of your local Greene King. Let's be honest, watching football is way better with friends and family. So get the squad together for every televised Premier League fixture in an atmosphere worth sharing. That includes huge title showdowns, race for European qualification, and the nail-biting relegation six-pointers. Don't forget to download the Greene King Sports app to enjoy your exclusive competitions and discounts whenever there is a game on. Right, on with the podcast.
Welcome to the 1878 FM podcast. We are back. We have nearly a full house, We are still missing Baz, who is probably tasting the wine and the cheese at Epcot at the moment. He keeps on sending video, like he'll send me pictures from Epcot. It's the most nauseating thing, or from anywhere in Disney. He sent a video last night where, I don't know if you boys have ever been to Disney, but there's always, and you don't remember it when you're actually there, but there's always like a piped in music of like happy fun. You're having the time of your life, piped in music that you only catch when you watch someone else's video of Disney. You sort of, it just goes into your mind when you're there. It's probably telling you just to spend Mickey dollars. It's probably a way of just feeding it in. And he keeps on sending me these videos, which are nauseating, I've got to say.
He feels like he's been there for weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, it does seem like a long time that he's been away.
I think it's because so much has happened in the world of Everton. In a positive sense, I think we used to let negative events kind of all blend into one massive trauma.
Yeah.
But positive events feel individual and joyous.
Yeah.
And I can't be the first, and I won't be the last to say this, but Baz has got to move there now, hasn't he? He's got to emigrate to Florida.
He needs a green card, doesn't he?
He does.
Like Gerard Depardieu.
Absolutely.
Reference for the kids there.
Absolutely. Ask your parents.
Yeah. No, actually, we the Toffee TV Villa, which is what it's known as, has had 2 visits this season, and it's 6 wins out of 6. 7 wins out of 7. 7 wins out of 7 we've had at the Toffee TV Villa in Orlando this year. So, and he's got Luton as well there on Friday night.
Is he actually coming back?
If he didn't have to, he wouldn't. No,
but when is he coming back?
No, he's coming back. He'll be back a week today.
Wow.
I feel so sorry for his lad, though, because his lad's just, that age. We've all been that age supporting Everton, and just nothing goes right, and you can't win a derby, and then all of a sudden you get whisked away to Florida. Yeah, great holiday. Oh, look at the score. Oh, look at the other score. Oh, look. Like history's being made, and he stood in a queue for a roller coaster.
That's if Baz queues, of course. Come on.
A fast pass kind of guy.
Well, I imagine when you see remember in the old in the old Hello magazines, where it'd be like Joe Pasquale after hours at Disney Park Paris. You know what I mean? I think Baz has got vibes like that about him, hasn't he? Do you know what I mean?
Well, that's better than what my uncle did, because years ago, my uncle was a bit of a, I can't think of a polite way of describing him, but he was, you know what I mean? He was one of them fellas, and he took a wheelchair to Disneyland with him, and he got his son to push him to the front of the queue. He didn't need a wheelchair, and then he just stood up and just jumped the queue.
It's
and
a
everyone
miracle.
was like, yeah, look at that. And that's what he said. He went, it's a miracle. Quick, get on.
I once had a chat with Joe Calzaghe in Disneyland Paris, and he was doing a shoot with his then wife or girlfriend, and I just bumped into him. It was quite quiet, and just had a little chat with him for 10 minutes about what he's doing. He's just like, he was like, I don't want to do the Welsh accent, but I said, I've been dragged here to do a shoot, basically, and he ended up being in the parade, just like waving to people, and I just can't imagine what little kids from all over Europe thought, who they thought this man was. You got
there's Mickey Mouse.
Yeah,
there's Baz from Toffee TV. Wave, kids.
Mickey Scouse.
Joe Calzaghe, though. I mean, yeah. So yeah, no, Baz is having the time of his life. So I said to him yesterday, I said I wouldn't have swapped this week for the World. So maybe I'd swap this week, the next upcoming week for the World. But he's, you know, but what a week it's been. It's been absolutely incredible. Dave, you weren't here last week, obviously, where we obviously spoke about the first part against Nottingham Forest, which was obviously controversial and you know, was talked about for days, obviously for nothing to do with Everton, but. You know, the week that's followed has just been absolutely incredible, and obviously has secured our place in next season's Premier League.
Yeah, it's been an incredible week, as you said. And I mean, this was the week that we all said would define our season. And I think we were all quite fearful of it because it just meant so much, obviously, with Forest at one end of it, you know, and obviously Brentford at the other with the derby in the middle. And it was like, these are three massive, massive games, which, you know, but I don't think any of us could have expected that we were going to come away from that week with 3 wins. And it's been epic. And, you know, and actually the derby win was on my actual birthday. So that's one that will live long in the memory. It was a significant birthday. I was 40 again, you know, so absolutely. I will always now remember the fact that, you know, the derby win on my actual birthday. So it's been quite the week and thoroughly enjoyed.
Sam, how have you found? I mean, obviously, Sam, slightly different than Dave because you are in and around the city. So how have you found this week? How many smug smiles have you been able to put out to people this week?
Oh, so many. Yeah. So many. In fact, I've had my ear syringed this morning, so I can now, as well as the air smelling sweeter in the last week of Everton results, I can hear everything. Although there's one thing I cannot hear, and that's the Copite sing, because they have been very quiet. Yeah. And fair play to them all, my mates who are Liverpool fans. They haven't been like the celebration police like they used to be back in the old days, where they'd be like, oh, it's your cup final. There was none of that. I think they just understand that it's a massive result for us. Big, you know, disappointing for them, but the whole week's been fab for us. It's just such a, like where we were after that Chelsea game where I couldn't see anything positive in the future. Yeah. And looking at the league table was like, I mean, I remember not so long ago looking at your bank account just before payday and you're like, oh, there's a direct debit bill to come out and you're worrying about what's going to happen with the, you know, and now I just, since we were safe against Brentford, I've been looking at the league table like it's a family holiday photo. Just, oh, that's nice. Oh, look at that. Remember that. That's beautiful. So feel really good. But as you can see, a couple of wins. I'm in the club shop. I'm buying the retro shirts.
Is right.
Oh, that's a new edition, is it? Sorry, I thought that might have been something brand new for a while. Oh, very good, very good.
Brand new, because people want to spend money. People want to consume stuff. I have consumed every single second of every single piece of quality content that Toffee TV have put out this week. And I tell you what, Ped, there was a moment on Thursday after the derby. If you about 1:30 in the afternoon, if you would have released a new tier on Premier, it was £100 a month for 24-hour coverage, I would have been like, take my money.
The Truman Show.
Just, even if it's just you and John Blaine talking about Sabutio kits from the 80s, I'd be like, this is great because we won a derby, everything's feeling positive. And now, Sean Dyche, he's talking, and instead of me questioning everything he's saying, I'm going, well, yeah, maybe XG does pay you back, even though that's not true. We know that's not true, but I'm thinking, well, he can have his opinion. You know, and he's in music videos, and I'm like, good on him. He's in a music video. If that would have come out last week, I would have been like, what's he doing in a music video? I'm like, get him in more music videos.
What a difference a week makes. If anyone hasn't seen it, he's doing, I think the video comes out tomorrow with the Blossoms, and he's some kind of, in the video, it looks like he's some kind of boss of they're going to do a robbery or something, and he's some kind of boss, and you can hear him on the phone, and you're just thinking, if that had come out, if that had come out 10 days ago, he would have had strips torn off him. But now everyone's like, he's right, I was down with the kids, see you at Glasgow, you know, and it's just like, do whatever you want, Sean. What a man. It's been unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
It's amazing.
My favourite part of looking at the league table, Sam, is the bit, obviously the form bit, where you just see the 3 green W's, you know, at the end of the thing, because I'm just so used to not seeing that. And I'm looking at it now on the BBC Sport website, you know, and it is lovely to see.
Yeah, you're like, what does that W mean? What does that mean something? Does it signify?
Win?
Yeah.
But even like, the manager talking, and I'm like, it's because we've talked a lot about the lack of bonds, the lack of connection between the fans, the club, the fans, the players. There's not, or there hasn't been certainly many likable players, certainly not likable performances.
Mm-hmm.
And after the last week we've had, it's like we've crammed them all into a short space of time. And even someone like Ashley Young, who's not he's not been brilliant for us. But I'm looking at him now going, I think I'm warming to him. But I don't know if that's because of the way he's been an absolute shithouse on Twitter with people.
Yeah, that's been tremendous. Seeing somebody doing it to other people rather than do it to us has been absolutely fantastic. No, they've all elevated themselves, haven't they? They're all. I mean, once you sort of. I mean, you mentioned it before. Like, it's not only winning a derby. It's for many people. I'm not saying us on the podcast, of course, but watching Liverpool crumble at the same time as us. We're having an upturn, and we've been part of their crumble has been a big part of it as well, and it's Wednesday night, as I said, Forest was so much controversy around it, and you look back and think, God, we did get a couple of away with some, at least one big decision, and then it goes through into Wednesday night, and then, it's pretty much the same team. Dominic Calvert-Lewin's touch and go, he hasn't been training. To go into that Merseyside derby, I mean, I went into it so relaxed, and I'm sure a lot of other people did. I did something earlier on Sky Sports News with someone from the Anfield Wrap, and they called it the biggest game of their lives. And you straight away, I'm thinking, I'm so relaxed about this game. There's so much on it for us, and you could feel that in the ground. There was no tenseness at all. It was almost like for a lot of people, like, this is a freebie, this one.
Yeah,
and the atmosphere was like unbelievable. It was because there was no real angst at all amongst Evertonians. Everyone was pulling in the same direction. The performance was amazing. Their fans, I mean, I'm not even sure their fans were even there, if I'm honest. Might have just been a load of, holograms that been left over from Coachella or something, or the Shankly Hotel. It was unbelievable. And the way it played out, and, the minutes of when we got the goals, and it was just unbelievable. And obviously it's the first time we've won a Merseyside derby since 2010. It was just an unbelievable night. Everything played out perfectly.
Yeah, it did. It did, absolutely.
How did you absorb it, Dave? What was your evening like? Because obviously you just mentioned it was your birthday. Did you?
Yeah.
Could you sit down and watch it properly?
So what happened was, it was my actual birthday on Wednesday. So I was working Wednesday, and then I went down to my local at about 5:30. And the plan was a couple of hours down there with a few mates, go and do the toast my birthday thing. And then I was going to come back and just have my tea and sit and watch it. And I was quite happy with that. My sister couldn't really understand that. She was a bit like, well, we need to kind of, and I'm like, no, honestly, I'll be fine. I just want to watch the match, I'll be okay. Anyway, as it turned out, there was a few friends that come down to the pub with us and came back and watched it. So there was about a dozen of us in my lounge watching it. Oof. And yeah, so it was just a thoroughly enjoyable evening. And I was bouncing around.
What was the split like amongst those dozen, Dave? Were there any of the blues, or were they just kind of a mix?
There was 3 reds there, actually. So that was even better. That's why I thoroughly enjoyed it. So I was a bit like, no, do you know what? This is my house. This is my territory, and absolutely. And if I want to jump around, then I will. And indeed I did.
Was it the Birmingham City chairman, the American guy, was doing that the other week? This is my house. This is our house. It's our house. It was so cringy, wasn't it? But obviously, if it's your house, that's very
that
is
your house.
Actually, your
that's
house.
literally
the mortgage on this place.
For a minute there, I thought for a minute you were talking about Barry Fry, who famously went round to the 4 corners of Birmingham City's ground and pissed on every corner. And I thought for a minute you were hinting that that's what Dave had done in his house to certify that it was actually his house.
No.
I mean, that's what dogs do, isn't it? To claim ownership, they just urinate.
But I just wanted to take you back to October the 17th, 2010, when, of course, Everton last won a home game against Liverpool. 2-0 win, Cahill and Mikel Arteta, which is, of course...
Both crackers as well, by the way.
Yeah, who, of course, is now... got the team at the top of the league for the time being. But just a couple of little things. In the number 1 film that weekend in this country was Despicable Me.
Okay.
And to be fair, Sam, you are giving out a few Gru feels here. You do look... You would, if there was a musical, you could definitely play Gru. I was going to say pull off, but I won't say that. But you could definitely You could definitely play Gru.
But I could also play the minions as well, in a way.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
you could.
I could it could be like a one-man show. I could do a little bit of both. And I've got twin boys, and one of them wears glasses. And I've said for years on Halloween,
They're not
I'll
bald,
be
are they?
Gru, you be the minion. They're not bald, but you can get caps and stuff, can't they? But it's coming. If they are actually mine, we'll find out in about 40 years, won't we? But they don't want to do that. They want to dress as like Harry Potter and stuff. So that's a shame.
Oh, that's fair enough. So that was Despicable Me. The number one song was "Forget You" by CeeLo Green. Now you must have,
I remember it. Now,
you
there
must
was
have played that a few times, Dave.
Wow, and you have to be careful which version you play, of course.
Oh, yes.
Because there was one that was a broadcastable version and one that very much wasn't a broadcastable version. And actually, that mistake has been made before. But yes, I do. I remember that record well, Mr. CeeLo Green. Actually, who is the subject of a funny story? Just to go off on a very
Dave.
slight
Go on.
tangent. Is that so this was 2006, I think it was, and Radio 1 had its big weekend in Dundee, right? Camperdown Park in Dundee. And one of the acts performing were Niles Barkley, which of course was CeeLo Green and the other guy whose name that no one else can remember. And basically, this big weekend is like a proper full-on festival, by this stage, proper big stage and everything with a big ramp up the back where they'd sort of wheel all the flight cases. And so you've got all of the techie guys and girls there, all sort of there with their headsets on, and you've got roadies moving things around. And basically they have a sort of an intercom system amongst themselves with their headphones so they can chat to each other. And at one point, as Mr. CeeLo Green is making his way up the ramp, you just hear... Here comes Fatty, right? But instead of it being on the closed circuit intercom, it went out on the stage PA, right? No. At which point he stood there, and to say that he wasn't very happy was something of an understatement. So here comes Fatty is what we all remember from Mr. CeeLo Green.
I was going to say you can't do that these days, but you really couldn't do that in them days either. So.
No, you couldn't. No, it was very much an off-air comment, which has become very much sort of on-air and public.
The big TV news was the next day after this derby would be the last ever In-Betweeners. So obviously we had the films and everything, but it was the last episode of the In-Betweeners, the second season of the In-Betweeners, the last ever one. What a show! What a show! What an incredible show! But to think the last one was in 2010 is unbelievable.
Do you know, I watched that show. Someone recommended it to me when it was on, when it was in its heyday. And I thought, well, I don't need to watch a load of kids being kids, because I was a kid and I'm an adult now. And I thought, I'll give it a chance. And I watched like one episode and I just thought, this is amazing. This isn't even comedy. This is like a documentary of what it's like to be a 15-year-old boy. It was unbelievable. Me and my friends, we go away once a year. All my mates I went to school with, we're all in our 40s now. Once a year we go away and we get a little cottage just because we never see each other through the year. Yeah. And we get there and we all regress to being 14 again within about 10 seconds. And it's glorious for 24 hours until the Saturday night when you're just desperate to get back to being an adult again. But yeah, great show that.
Absolutely brilliant show, wasn't it? Also, Bruno Mars was number one, Just the Way You Are, in America. We got a new pope, Benedict. That went well. Obviously everyone knows that went well. But the big TV news was, and I'm sure this will strike a chord with a lot of our listeners and viewers, and I'm sure Dave Vitti would have had a tear in his eye. ITV confirmed Beverly Collard would leave Coronation Street. She was leaving, and that was when she left in 2011. But that's when they told the world she was leaving, and now obviously was a sad day for everybody at the time.
Absolutely, and the end of an era, end of a chapter, and on one day that obviously made us all well up.
So, I mean, Sam, what were you doing in October 2010? Where was your life? Because we know you're a very successful. You go. This is a man, Dave, that we discovered last week. On a Saturday afternoon, we'll be in Bristol, going in the coffee shops and record stores of Bristol. Only then, in the evening times, we're playing to a full house, probably, in Southampton. This is the kind of rock and roll life Sam now has. So what were you doing in 2010, Sam?
I think in 2010, I wasn't married. So my now wife was my girlfriend then. and obviously I've got a different girlfriend now. I'm married.
Sure.
She doesn't watch this.
No.
I think I live somewhere else. I think I was just in that phase of trying to break into the comedy circuit like properly, and I was driving everywhere, like driving like 6 nights a week just to do any gig anywhere.
How did you
And
get
it
to
was-
Bristol?
I got the train to Bristol. I get the train
sick.
nowadays.
Say
I'm
God.
just-
How do you other
Yeah.
half lives?
I jumped on. Do you know what? I did a little cheeky first class from York to Glasgow on Saturday, and they gave me a sandwich. All I wanted is a sandwich and a packet of crisps, and I feel like
Tell
one of the
you what.
royals.
Yeah.
So, how times have changed, but I was driving everywhere at the time. I was just desperately trying to get paid work. I think basically.
Did you have a job as well?
I had a job. Yeah, I was doing like comedy workshops in schools during
That's
the day.
not a job.
No,
not a real job.
that's a vocation. That's a calling, Sam. It's a calling.
Well, it was more of an obligation, to be honest,
Yeah,
because I had to pay the bills.
Yeah.
I had a season ticket in the main stand, though, at Goodison at that time, which I shortly got to give up because I was then started working weekends all the time, so I was
Yeah.
away Saturday night and I couldn't get to the. I think the following season I went to like 2 games with the season ticket and just had to give it up. But it just feels like I had a full head of hair.
Yeah, well.
So
No, I mean, everyone knows you've only shaved your hair off as like a comedy thing to give you to give you a look like you're a minion.
it's to give me the edge that I didn't possess otherwise. I'm thinking about doing my eyebrows next. but
Slipstream.
I'll wait to see.
Dave, what about you? Because obviously this is the heyday. This is the Radio 1 glory day. Tell us, you were on Radio 1. You were doing the breakfast show. The world was your oyster. You were convincing top US rappers to be Evertonians. I mean, what else was going on around then?
So what else was going around then was October 2010. I would have been 36, so a whippersnapper. And
How have you only aged 4 years?
Oh yeah, that's weird. Sorry, 26. Obviously, sorry, 26. I must have been. Yeah, because of course it's 14 years ago. Amazing, isn't it?
Very much so.
Yes. So I was. It's either 26 or 36.
Yeah.
Make of that what you will. So where was I in life? I think my second marriage was just falling apart at the time. That was around that kind of time of the era. I think I'd already moved into the spare room at that point. Also, October was when I started training for Dancing on Ice, and I started doing the basic training because I did that in the January 2011. So October, November, December was 3 months of basic training. So I was spending a lot of time ice skating. And so that was all consuming. I too had a season ticket at the time in the paddock. So I was getting to as many games as I could do. My daughter was 3 at the time. Wow. So actually she was quite mobile. And so we'd go and stay with my cousin Paul and his wife Ali, and so my daughter and Auntie Ali would make cakes and stuff in the daytime and do kind of like fun stuff, and then me and our Paul would go off to the match. So yeah, that was kind of where I was in life in 2010. Yeah, there's quite a lot going on then. Looking back on it,
peak Vitty, I'd say.
Yeah.
Any charitable stuff going on at the time, Dave? Because you were famous for doing some good charity stuff with Radio 1, some good you'd done, what year was it when you did like the cars and you drove around the UK in like the cars, all the different TV and film cars?
Very, very good question. We went from John O'Groats to Land's End with the TV cars. And in fact, I was only thinking about that last summer because I was actually up at John O'Groats and I had my picture taken at the same sign. And I thought, I remember being here years ago. I don't think what year it was.
2004, I think it was.
Was it? Could have been.
I think so. Yeah, because it was around the time one of my friends got married. Yeah, I think it might have been 2004.
Okay. Could well have been that sort of time. So we did 2000 and what? So we used to do the Sport Relief. Challenge with me and Chappers. So we did one of those, and so Sport Relief was in the odd years. So 2001, 2003. 2001, we did all of the English Prem and all of the Scottish Prem in 3 days. I think we went around all the grounds. 2003 is when we did the 92, which was brilliant. So we did all 92 league clubs in England and Wales in a week. So that was me and Chappers and a couple of mates of ours. 2010. I know we did another one in 2008, I think, as well, but I don't know what we did in 2010. Because that would have been the March 2010 is kind of sport relief or comic relief.
Yeah.
Around then. So, I don't know.
You've done some amazing.
We did. No, it was,
I think
it'll be online somewhere. Shall I Google it now as we speak?
I'm trying to think. Something. The other fella did a marathon in 2011. But I'm not sure what happened in 2010. We'll come back to that.
Can I share with you a little list?
Go on.
I wrote a little list on Twitter about the last time Everton won a Goodison derby.
Yeah. And
the only abuse I've had is from fellow Blues who didn't realise I'm a Blue, and I wasn't saying it as if, it's ages. I was saying it like what a monumental day Wednesday was. That was the framing of it. But anyway, people on Twitter like to get angry. And I suppose if you can't get angry about the football club right now, you got to direct it at me, haven't you? So,
well, it's normally me, to be fair.
That's fair.
It's like normally me.
You're the Jupiter. Is it Jupiter that attracts all the meteors to stop them hitting Earth?
If you want to call them meteors, you can call them meteors. I call them something else.
Something else. In fact, some of these things I've written, I probably won't share on this podcast as it is a family show, as we know. But last time Everton won a Goodison derby, the iPad didn't exist. Bin Laden was still vlogging. P. Diddy was sound. A high press was something for your pants.
Yes.
Prince Andrew was sound. The Walking Dead was good because that tailed off massively.
Yeah, it did. It did.
Donald Trump was sound. The post office was sound. Butter was less than a tenner. Piers Morgan wasn't sound. He's never been sound. And Ashley Young was only 36.
Yeah, absolutely. There you go. It's tremendous.
I'll tell you one thing. Funny enough, I just online, just Googled. There's like a Chris Moore Show calendar 2010, which has reminded me of some of the things. 2010 was also the year that, and we were talking about Florida before with Baz. 2010 was the year that I lost my wedding ring, I think, in the sand. Was a big deal. Actually, it turned out to not need it in the end anyway.
I was going to say, that feels like a big omen. I think you had 2010 off. I think Scott Mills ran a marathon or something.
Maybe he did. 2010 doesn't ring any bells for me in the charity world.
It was sports relief, and I think Scott Mills. Whatever happened to Scott Mills? Whatever happened to Chappers? These people, they just disappear.
Whatever happened to radio?
Yeah.
To be fair. So it was just a fantastic night. But that moves us on to Saturday. And what's weird is, once we'd won the derby, and obviously got that out the way, I mean, I'd love to hear your views on this, or how you felt. But that's when I suddenly started to feel so much anxiety, because even though early on in the week I'd been doing, the old numbers in your head, and before the Forest game, that really hadn't come into my head at all. But after the derby, suddenly I couldn't think of anything else between after the Thursday to the game on Saturday. I couldn't think of anything else but all of the numbers, what we needed, what would happen if this happened and that happened. And because we were so close, obviously we knew a win, but we were so close. I was suddenly just full of anxiety about it. Was like I can only describe it as being 2-0 up with 10 minutes to go in the actual derby itself. And it was like, right, Luton are going to Wolves. Well, Wolves have lost a few games in a row. They've just been beaten by Bournemouth. Are they really going to be bothered? Are they going to turn up? VAR's been going against them. City are playing Forest on Sunday. City look a little bit leggy. They've just played. They're playing on Thursday night. They've beaten Brighton, but they'll be leggy. They've got a couple of injuries. And all this is going in my head now because we are so close. And I'm thinking, even if we don't get the job done on Saturday, that means I've got basically another week. And if Luton beat us, and then I've got another week, and this anxiety is just absolutely flooding through me. And I'm sure there's people out there going, what are you talking about? And people are going, it's done. Don't worry about it. You'll be fine. I'm like, well, even if we are fine, what if we don't actually find out? till the Arsenal game or till the Sheffield United game. So I was just full of anxiety for those 2 days.
Yeah, there was just a lot riding on it, and yeah, as you say, 9 points in an incredible week, safety secured, and goal machine Idrissa Gueye. You know, who'd have thought
Prolific.
that? Absolutely prolific.
So were either of you feeling that though, or are you just like, this is fine, we're going to play Brentford, no matter what happens, we'll be fine, or were either of you feeling a little bit of that?
I don't think I had the anxiety. I didn't think that we would beat Brentford on Saturday. I kind of thought that, you know, we'd had our results.
Yeah.
And that there was no way it was going to continue, you know, into a third. So I wasn't really seeing anything there. And you know, I thought, well, you know, we're going to have to wait further, you know, towards the end of the season until that is secured, you know, and whether that came against Luton or it came against Sheff U or whatever, we weren't sure. But yeah, to get it all wrapped up on Saturday was brilliant.
Yeah, I didn't really have the anxiety as much because once I realised Brentford was safe, and I thought that, you know, that they're going to have the flip-flops on, as I think they did a little bit.
Yeah.
What you said before, Ped, about was it the guy from the Anfield rap who you're on with?
Yeah.
And he said this is the biggest game of our lives about the derby. I mean, I was looking at that Luton away match thinking that could be the biggest game of our lives.
Yeah.
And as it is now, we can probably get to see what this team are capable of when they don't have loads of pressure on them. And it might be that it spares us on. It might be that we have our flip-flops on. I don't know, and if the players do that, I think I'd be a bit more like, well, you've probably earned this now because you've had so much pressure on you for the whole season. But I had to listen to the game on Saturday on the radio because I was driving up to Harrogate. So I just had it on. The first half sounded dead boring, flat atmosphere, as you'd expect after the derby. And I almost thought, I bet some of the fans are quite enjoying the fact it's a bit flat and it's a bit boring because it's kind of what we've been crying out for. But then, obviously, the goal goes in. It sounded like the atmosphere just exploded. And then, you know, I think Dwight McNeil hits the bar, doesn't he, afterwards? So could have got a second one. But I'm sure there's like a positive way of looking at everything that's gone on over the last 3 years. And it's very tempting to just focus on the negatives because there's so many of them and they are really, really debilitating. But there's definitely a narrative to be spun, probably amongst the fans ourselves, to say, despite everything, despite points deductions, forced to sell our best players, terrible run of the club, you know, management structure that's not fit for purpose, a takeover that's going on longer than God knows what. You still can't kill the Toffees. You still can't kill us. That's got to be, we're unkillable. So that's got to be a positive thing, if nothing else.
I think you're right. I just think that, I mean, I'll come on to Sean Dyche in a moment, but I just think that I think the run without a win between obviously December till like obviously last week, a couple of weeks ago, when we played Burnley, if that run had a couple of wins in it and we hadn't built up that period of anxiety, then even if we got the same amount of wins so far, the season would have looked so much different. It would have looked like it had been a consistent season all the way wrong. But that gap allowed all the negativity to fill in the gaps, and I think that was the only issue that creeped in, and because the anxiety was building and building and building, and it was allowed to build for 3 months. And I just think if we'd got a couple of wins in that time, we would have all felt a lot easier, so that we didn't have to win 3. And I mean, it's been great, but it's just built up to that point where we had to win 3 in a row. Whereas we built up consistently, I think everyone would have looked at the season slightly different. The Chelsea game was such a key game because I think after the Chelsea game, I think there's been such a huge reaction from everyone at the club. You know, the fans, the manager, and the players. It was a real point of we either you know, we go because we've just been beaten 6-0, or we bounce back. But luckily enough, everyone's responded, including the manager. I think the manager, you've seen a different side of him, I think, anyway, because he's come out and almost owned it. And I think the wardrobe thing's been mentioned a few times, but I think the wardrobe thing is almost a clear indicator that he felt like something had to change for him as well. And I think he's been really good the last week, obviously, with his decisions. And, you know, this weekend he's had to leave Dom out, and he's done that. But he could have done that for the derby, but he didn't, because he understood how much of a big game it was and played him, where people were almost like, leave him for the Brentford game. That's the most important one. He's got everything spot on this week. And, you know, I think beforehand there was some people question marks, but I think this week we've seen a different side of him. I think now, you know, we can all take our hat off him, certainly. You know, I think certainly my viewpoint of him has changed, because I really do think he's owned this week. Or over the last 7 days, sorry. I really do think he's owned it, and I really do think he's helped so much galvanise it by not throwing anyone under the bus, by the way, by going, I'm part of he could have easily just thrown people under the bus, but he's not. He's gone, I'm part of this, and I need to change. And I've got so much respect for him for doing that.
Yeah, and when you look at it now, actually the Chelsea defeat, as much as it was difficult to stomach at the time, was probably the best thing that happened in hindsight, because obviously it did, you know, galvanize, you know, in the same way that the points deduction did last December. It did actually bring them all together, and yeah, you know, arguably, if they hadn't got thumped the way that they did, you know, they could have sort of sleptwalked into these 3 games with the same kind of apathy that wouldn't have got the results. Well, certainly the performance, and therefore the results that they did.
It's a shame we can't galvanise this squad, though, without points deductions or 6-0 defeats. It's a shame we can't come in with a game of killer pool and just batter them, and then we get back on the pitch and play well. It's really unusual for a manager to do what you just outlined there, Ped, though, because, you know, managers are, as much as a part of a collective, that is, you know, they don't last in jobs forever, so they've got to think about their own brand and protecting their own kind of image.
Yeah.
So to actually put yourself in the position where you're owning that, you know, the fact that you're part of this team. Of course, they all are. You know, they're all the big part, but the focal points of it. But he's done that. And the tracksuit thing, we've all joked about it, and we've all laughed about it, and we've all sort of pondered whether it's had an effect. But I always think the tracksuit thing is almost like, you know, we joke about rock and roll stars when they turn up at a gig. Where's me bowl of blue M&Ms?
Yeah.
And we all laugh about that, some diva thing. But the reason that came about is because what they do is they'd have a big contract of like demands for like the PA system, the backstage access, all that sort of stuff. And the blue M&Ms will be right at the bottom of the contract. So when the tour manager turns up, if he doesn't see the blue M&Ms, he knows that contract's not being read and anything else could be off kilter.
Yeah.
And I think him wearing that tracksuit is just an indicator that there's been a lot of dialogue and there's been a lot of conversations, and other things have changed as well. So it's not, I don't think we're dwelling on it too much. It's not about the tracksuit itself. It's about that's part of this whole discussion.
Yeah, definitely. No, it feels like it's part of a collective. You're absolutely right. It feels like, as I'm saying, loads of managers are, and I think this was a point that had been thrown at him before, was when we win, it's down to Sean Dyche. When we lose, it's down to the players. And I've found that with him at times. But I found as soon as the Chelsea thing happened that suddenly he did become part of it. And I've got massive respect for that and how we go forward. And I think, again, going back to that thing I did at Sky last week, one of the things I was saying was, he has been put front and centre this season, and he shouldn't have been. He shouldn't have had to take questions on every single thing that goes on at the football club. And he has, and he's handled it really well. And he's had to deal with all that. And he's even said over the week, I think he said after the match it's come out today, saying it's been his biggest achievement in football, because most people don't know half of the stuff that's gone on at the club at the moment. Which
I saw that.
Which again shows how much we really should have had a fly on the wall documentary this season, because it would have been absolutely incredible to have had a documentary this season, to have seen all that. But he's had to put up with so much this season, and I know he's got stick, and you know I've given him stick, and other people have given stick, but he really probably has, I imagine, really been the glue that's held Everton together this season. And obviously we don't see all the stresses he has to go through. We see him trying to be funny. And I seen it on Saturday as well. He made a joke on BBC after the match. And then the BBC reporter in the press conference tried to sort of do him on the joke he'd made, and he reacted in a really good way, because he just went, it was a joke. How can you not see that that's a joke? Why are you trying to not make... And sometimes that sort of is the way he deals with things, does get lost on people. And I just think we have to... I imagine now we all just have to make our peace with everything we may not like about Sean Dyche and just get on with it, because obviously next year is going to be huge again.
Yeah, absolutely.
No,
Absolutely. No, I agree. And there's his general standing has come full circle, hasn't it? In the last week, in terms of if you look at what people thought after the Chelsea game. But it all pulled together, and he's been spot on with everything, and it's just good to see.
Yeah. Well, we've got Luton now Friday night. Do we care, or do we want? Personally, I want to smash Luton. I want to smash Luton. And like what was said before by Sam, let's see the real team now. Let's see them come out, enjoy themselves, and really put Luton to the sword.
Put Garner Gay up front, 4-0. Easy. Because I think the players are playing for Sean Dyche, though, aren't they? And I think I know that phrase is so like everyone's got their own like definition of what that means. But all the games this week, specifically the derby, we talked last week, didn't we, on this podcast about like was it 1994 when Duncan got his first goal, Joe Rawl's first game in charge, and you put on social media a couple of times, Ped, about how similar it was, and it did feel like a sort of modern day Dogs of War performance with just. Obviously, you can't tackle like you used to, but closing them down and just not giving them any time and making the opponents panic, which is just what Goodison was always like. So now we've got that, safety confirmed. Let's see what we can do to Luton, especially after Luton started saying all these points deductions for Forest and Everton. Luton's are the real victims. Shut up.
I know. That's
annoyed me. Coming for you.
That's annoyed me. So it's actually, I've been annoyed since day one with Luton, because I did a thing for the overlap at the beginning of the season, and a Luton fan was telling me they'd be fine because we were so bad, and it really pissed me off. But then half of it, and then I was like, but I went, well, you're going to get the record lowest points ever, and then I thought, if these stay up and we go down, I'm going to look like a right tit. But he annoyed me so much by like, I would be fine because you'll be below us, and I was like, who the fuck do you think you are? And
I like holding a grudge. I like holding grudges. Yeah. In fact, I drove past that new box park in Liverpool this morning, and I just in my car, I wound the window down just slightly, and I just went boo.
Dave, are you aware of the box park story, by the way?
Remind me. I heard about the box park story, but I haven't heard the detail.
Just to finish off, basically, Box Park, new one in Liverpool. They've been in London for a while. Those places where you see all the ale getting thrown when England score. They opened up the Friday before the derby.
Where is it?
It's in Baltic Triangle.
Okay.
Yeah. So they've basically got rid of something really nice and historic that like people were using, and put something really corporate and gaudy there. And basically, they just basically said, what a week to start Merseyside derby. Oh, we're going to have the Red Men there, and we're going to have some lad who plays songs about Liverpool winning things, that kind of thing. And we're just basically going to make it a Liverpool night. To which Evertonians were like, oh, you do understand that there's like two teams in the city, don't you?
Yeah.
And then there was images came out of it, and it was all red. All the lights were red. It was just a Liverpool event, basically. But there's videos of Evertonians in there just basically celebrating. And the place has just been destroyed on social media. Evertonians saying they'll never go there for any reason whatsoever. You have set your stall out, lads. So there's plenty of nice places to go in Liverpool for a drink or watch the match or whatever. But what a way to like start your life out in Liverpool. And it's been destroyed. And all they had to say was, for the Merseyside, I don't know, Reds and Blues are welcome and all come down and have a nice night. But just a really ridiculous way to piss off people in the first week of starting out in a new city.
Well, it just smacks of it being a decision that was made by somebody who clearly isn't from the city nor has any concept of the city and the people. It'd be a decision that was made by somebody probably, who runs Box Park in London.
Yeah. So,
got it horribly wrong.
So Evertonians are taking great delight in
very good
in it. And Sam, just to let you know, there's a Jurgen Klopp thing on Aintree Racecourse on the final day as well. So we can boycott Aintree Racecourse now as well.
I'll boo every time I drive past there, which is quite often to see me mum in Mughal. So I'll wind the window down, give it a boo.
Yeah, is right. Right there you go. A very, very happy podcast. Next week, Baz shall make his return, I imagine, hopefully, unless he's jet lagged. So he can recount us with the tales of waiting in fast pass queues and you know, it's a small, small world. Well, it generally always is for Baz. So there you go. There you go. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Thanks to Dave and Sam once again. Don't forget, make sure to give this a 5-star rating. And yeah, see you next week.